Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Aristoria with me Rehan Azra Hakim. Today we had a discussion video about comparative literature. But first, comparative literature is one of the classes that I took recently for the 7th semester. And in this class, I also meeting again with Miss Lini Marlina, my lecturer from the previous classes in children literature. I hope this will be an amazing class with her, since we will learn a lot from her about literature. All right, let's start with comparative literature. What is comparative literature? According to Remark in 1961, comparative literature is a study that defines literature beyond the confines of one particular country and the relationship between works of literature on the one hand and the other areas of knowledge and belief. He explained that comparative literature compares two literary work with other spheres of human expression. There are three notions of comparative literature. Rene Wellek and Austin Warren in 1993 also divided comparative literature into three terms. The first term is comparative literature is used for study for oral and written literature, especially the theme of folklore and its spreading, migration, as well as how and when folklore goes into more artistic literary writing. The second one is comparative literature is used for the investigation of the relationship between two or more works of literature. The subject and object of its investigation are many things, such as the reputation and penetration, the influence and fame of the great work. And the last one is comparative literature. It's used for literary research in the whole of world literature, general literature and universal literature. So the scale of comparative literature is global and it can be used for any kind of literary work. Okay, let's start with let's start with our example with Cinderella and Bawang Merah dan Bawang Putih. Both of these stories have similarities, but also had their own differences. The main difference from these two stories is that Cinderella comes from Germany in Europe. Meanwhile, Bawang Merah and Bawang Putih is originated from Indonesia in Southeast Asia. Okay, and here is a brief story of Cinderella. The story of Cinderella tells us about the evil character of stepmother and two stepsisters. In the beginning of the story, Cinderella has a beautiful life with her mother and her father, her biological family. However, their parent becomes sick and die. Her mother becomes sick and die, and her father marry a widow that have two daughters. But those two daughters had an ugly and dirty heart. They always misbehave in his father's Cinderella behind and in front of her father. They were so kind and very loving to Cinderella. Cinderella's father eventually died, and that Cinderella's suffering begins after her father died. She was treated like a housekeeper, and she even had worse than a housekeeper in general. Once there came a circular letter that the prince is looking for a woman who will be a wife to him by holding a dance party. Cinderella not allowed to go there, and she was very sad and cried in her mother's grave. Afterward, a group of birds came to her with the fairy godmother and give her a dress and shoes. Finally, she went to the prince castle and had a ball with him. And then she at the predetermined time, Cinderella should return when going home. However, when she is going home, her shoes left behind and become a tool for the prince to find a beautiful woman. And when the prince finally found her, Cinderella then married the prince and had a happy life without her stepfamily. And for the Bawang Putih and Bawang Merah, this story is kind of similar with Cinderella. Bawang Putih in this story is also an orphan. She lives with her stepmother and stepsister. But the differences in those two stories is that Cinderella is helped by fairy godmother and the animals. Meanwhile, for Bawang Putih, she being helped by a golden fish, magical golden fish. However, at the middle of the story, the golden fish was caught by her mother and then cooked. Feeling guilty for the goldfish death, Bawang Putih buries the fish remains and it grows into a golden tree. Meanwhile, at the same time, there is a prince who looking for a golden tree to cure his father's disease, but the tree cannot be pulled from the ground by anyone. Then the prince hold a competition for those who can pull it. If it is a man, he will become his brother, and if it is a woman, she will become his wife. The evil stepmother and stepsister cannot pull it until when Bawang Putih tries to pull the tree. She managed to pull it, and in the end, she married with the prince and lived with him in the castle. Like I said before, there are some these two stories is very similar, and the big difference is that the origins of the story says this is a folk tales. Is not surprising if there are some similarities in the story because folk tales are spread orally. Let's start with the similarities of the characters. For Cinderella and Bawang Putih, they choose to look for comfort and friendship. Both of them had a miserable life. So they, of course, they need someone to look for comfort and a friend to lighten their lives. For Cinderella, she had a small animal like squirrel, bird, and mouse. Meanwhile, for Bawang Putih, she had the magical goldfish. The next one is both of them remain kind and thoughtful. Even though both of them are treated like a housekeeper, and even worse than a housekeeper, they always remain kind to their step family. They never stop doing the good thing, no matter what the others did to them. And for the similarities of the story, we find that both of the main character are orphan. They live with evil stepmother and stepsister. They were abused by them and mistreated by the step family. But both of them had a guardian with magical power. Cinderella with her fairy godmother and Bawang Putih with the magical golden fish. Also, the last similarities is that both of the story have a happy ending where they married with a prince, even though the way they got this ending is a bit different. Cinderella with her glass shoes, Bawang Putih with the golden tree. All right, that's from me. Thank you for the attention. I hope this video will help you to understand about comparative literature, and see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.